How's it going, everybody? Welcome back always to Continues to Tick. Here we are again, and every week I must say, I'm excited to be here, and just extremely content to be able to be here. I'm in a constant mental reminder, looping over week after week, maybe even day after day, reminding myself as it's often easy to forget, but every next instant, every next memory, whether good or bad, is not guaranteed. There are surely going to come moments in our lives from time to time, or periods of duration, that no matter how we feel in any given moment, a bad memory, or good memory, of course, must be better than nothing at all, as nothing at all would mean we are no longer here. And with that, we enter into another week's video. I hope you've all managed to be well and get through another 7 days. Progress is progress, right? But time in and of itself is progression, as it simply doesn't pause. So better than being left behind, let's continue to keep moving forward. Allow time to pass, as we are. And no matter how we feel of our past week's progression, progress is movement, and movement is technically motion, no matter how stagnated we may feel at times. We can do this, and we can do life. I do want to take the time to say welcome to what appears to be a few new subscribers. The journey of this YouTube channel has been fun, and it appears when I upload now, I'm no longer uploading to the dark, empty space of the web. I see there's a pulse to this channel, and for that and everything that comes with it, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all those who are new to the channel, and a big thank you to those that have been on for the ride for some time now. The one thing I can say and will continually say, as long as my clock continues to tick, I'll continue to be here, week after week, documenting my dividend portfolio over time, and other random events, and I'm looking forward to it, very much. Before I dive into what's in store for this week's video, I just wanted to take the time to share another big life event or end of a chapter and beginning of a new one I've been experiencing recently. And no, although it'd be great to say it's not secondary to any big advances or monetary reasons from YouTube, although that'd be more than great, right? Maybe one day. Maybe the horizon is brighter than even I can see. But for those that haven't heard previously or haven't had the chance to check out my earlier videos, since graduating college and becoming a registered nurse about over 2 years ago now, I've been renting and living in a small 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, an upstairs unit, with my partner of nearly 5 years today, and our small doggo. Her and I decided recently it was time to upgrade space, which equates to a rather big move in terms of life events, right? Upgrading our living space, after all, is not a small feat, as many of us already know, or may be familiar with in seeing others. But we sat down, did the math, and figured out our goals for the next 5 years, and decided living in this smaller apartment, especially after COVID-19, would not be included in that time horizon. We're hoping with the bigger space may come a better quality of living, which in turn may lead to continual progression in our building phase of our current lives in our 20s. For me personally, I look back and see how much I've grown since graduating college, then to living on my own with my partner as an adult, learning this life and what it continually has to offer. And I hope to see upgrading our living space from renting a small apartment to now renting a small house will continue to bring more of this continual growth, more learning opportunities. One of the hardest things I personally had to combat naturally growing up was stagnation, was living at my parents' house, for example, a little too long and not moving. But slowly over time I've gotten better, but it continues to be something I struggle with. The security of a safety net in a variety of settings can hold its weight in gold, but with that comes a heaviness that's hard to move. For me, it's hard to move at times, as I like predictability, and I'm quite comfortable with little change. And by no means will I ever be a leaper, but I'm finding a balance that works for me, and also for my partner, as we live together and navigating this world side by side currently. But I will say, I'm looking forward to this next chapter, and I'm excited and also currently very tired. Man, it's hard moving. But we're nearly done, or at least that's what we're telling ourselves at the moment. But we're hoping with the bigger space, my girlfriend will and can enjoy more of the aspect of working from home. I can look forward to having a backyard space finally, along with the driveway, and our doggo can benefit from this said backyard also. And we'd also like to have our family and siblings over more, or at least have the option to, which wasn't much of an option in our previously smaller space. It's going to be interesting to see what this new space will bring into our lives, but as I've said, it was time, and time called, and said I was ready. So for this week's video, as you saw by the title, we're now getting into part 4 of the Dividend Investing Foundations, the mini-series in which I discuss pertinent thinking points or points of thought that I believe are critical for a successful financial foundation or just financial setup for the future. These are all points I've thought about and still do often as I navigate building up my own personal financial foundation as well. I'm not here so much to give advice, as I'm still learning myself, experiencing life, but to simply give perspective. Maybe something I say will spark something in your own mind for yourself. As for me, one thing I know I fear is getting stuck in my journey of life with an inability to back out or try again. And because of this, I try to be quite methodical in my movements. And getting stuck happens, and it can often be seen by those who make poor financial decisions or poor life-altering decisions, such as buying a house, choosing your financial investing strategy, or maybe even who you decide to marry. In life, we get multiple opportunities, but as we continue to get older, we begin to see less of them and less frequent, to the point it becomes easy to no longer be ready when they present themselves. In our first part, we talked about mindset, followed by career, then house and cars. And in this week, for part 4, we'll talk about relationships and marriage. Two things many, if not most of us, will experience in our lifetimes, and both with huge life-changing potential, especially when it comes to a financial foundation. We've all seen and heard blissful stories and horror stories. You have women don't need no man, and you have men go their own way. You also have love for what it is. It doesn't have to see gender or stereotypical and conformed sexual orientations. Just pure acceptance of someone else's company, and potentially for life. The saying, "it takes two to tango," doesn't necessarily come first to mind in terms of finances. But as cohabiting and marriage go, both are huge life-changing decisions. One may be more than the other by law, but both may alter an entire course of a person's life, especially in terms of finances. And because of this, it's important to not make this choice lightly, as cleaning the slate, for lack of a better term, is quite difficult, and shall I even say more difficult, with others involved, such as in the form of additional family members, kids. I usually like to combat these hard choices by putting light on myself. I'm currently 25, turning 26 later this year, cohabiting currently or living together with my girlfriend of almost 5 years, without the umbrella and title of marriage. Up to this point, we've lived together for about 2 years now. For the time being, we don't want kids or marriage, and potentially may be okay with neither on the horizon. We do have a small dog, and this works for us. Our belief is that we'll be together if we want to be together, and sure, we sacrifice the tax benefits of marriage, but we understand solidifying our love in the eyes of the government or faith via marriage is not a small choice, and a business deal contract at that. Both parties sign, and both parties must want it to function. We both agree at the moment to not sign. Now, this won't be the case for all of us, as some may see my girlfriend and I as quite unconventional. And sure, because of that, there has to be unconventional ways of making it work, such as when it comes time to do bills or deciding who buys a home. There are plenty of reasons why a marriage may be easier than what my partner and I are doing. And there is no right or wrong answer to marry or not marry. But there are people who marry or live with the wrong person. It happens often. And as long as I live, I can never say that this may never happen to me either. We just have to try to do our best. Now, as I also mentioned relationships in general to this part 4 of the Dividend Investing Foundations, I did this as I also want to just point to those that may neither be cohabiting or married, or maybe some or many of you are currently in the dating phase. And it's hard to date, right? As we all know. Maybe even harder now after COVID-19. Man, I can't even imagine that really. But I will say it's likely even harder to date trying not to spend money, as I can speak for myself. Sure, a couple's trip may be expensive, but as a long-term couple, you can get away with some pretty boring and routine living and still love one another. In the dating world, well, maybe not so much to that extent. While dating, we usually try to present our best selves, right? And with that, it's quite difficult to penny pinch at the same time. So if you're in the dating world, you also just try your best. That's all we can really do. Ultimately, what I'm trying to get at is that when it comes to investing for dividends, the fact that this strategy is such a long game, whether it's your partner, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, there may come moments when our investing strategy will be challenged. Being single allows us freedom, even more money to funnel into our investments. But not all of us want to live single forever, as it does get lonely, and it's nice having someone there to share your accomplishments with, while also viewing their accomplishments. But just remind yourself, when choosing to have someone by your side, this person will likely either be on board or not so much, either from the start or later on, as time passes by. It's hard to be perfect, but finding that person is going to be one of the biggest life decisions you'll make. And because of that, I included this thinking point, as I truly believe it deserves a thought when it comes to making life decisions for a solid, long-term, and potentially lifelong financial foundation. And with this, let's go ahead and wrap up this week's video like we always do with an update to our portfolio review for this past week. So here we are this week in the Jesse's Cash Flow portfolio, currently sitting at $24,431. So we've crossed into the $24K mark, which is really nice to see. Now that we're approaching the $25,000 mark, just as I've done with the previous $10,000, $20,000, I figured $25,000, it's a quarter of $100,000, the $100K mark. So once I cross the $25K mark, I'll also do another portfolio review just to have in comparison for my documentation moving forward. So I anticipate crossing that pretty soon. That might be out within the next 2 weeks. But this $24,431 is currently with a 37% return, which I believe is now the biggest percentage return that I've had so far in the portfolio. And I feel like I've been saying that a lot recently, but we're in a rather strange time. But this 37% return here, 283 are from earned dividends according to M1 Finance, and the market gain itself is $3,467. This equates to a total gain of the portfolio, including dividends, of $3,750, equating to that 37% return. Like I've said before, I started this portfolio post-market recovery, post-market crash and recovery, I guess I should say, in the crazy year of 2020, back on July 20th of 2020. And at that moment, I wouldn't have foreseen that I'd be here, less than a year later with a 37% return. I know it's not a growth portfolio, but there's some growth here. So if we go ahead and take a look at this past week, it was a rather flat week, but part of it is just simply because it was going up and down. This was my deposit right here, and it went down again, slightly incline, slightly flat. 0.46, pretty much no movement at all. But because of the portfolio size now of nearly $25,000, a 0.46% return is a gain of about $100. Going back to the all-time, going back down, we see the green lawn, and let's see. So I think the biggest gains are still from financials, secondary, also ETF. So I don't think that's changed from the last week's video. Energy is still up there. Industrials is here at 46%. Now heading into the activity section for the week. This past week itself was quite uneventful, as you can see, especially in comparison to last week, where we did get paid quite a bit in dividends, especially from a lot of REITs. This week, as you can see, we started it on April 21st with my $500 deposit, just like we always do. Staying consistent, staying disciplined to the game plan, and this is my priority at the moment. But with this deposit and last week's dividend payouts, we had a $14 snowball this week. So sure, we didn't get paid a lot in dividends, but it snowballs. $14 was this past week, $8 was the week before, $14 was the week before that, and then $8 before that. So that's pretty neat to see. And then here on April 22nd, the only dividend payout that we got was Oracle of 80 cents. Progress is being made, and there's no complaints from me. A couple exciting things coming up. I anticipate crossing the $25,000 mark, and whenever that happens, we'll go ahead and do another portfolio review. Additionally, we'll have part 5 of the Dividend Investing Foundations. So either or, we'll see which video we get next week. If the market goes a little crazy and we cross into the $25,000 range, that'll probably be the video I bring next, and we'll have to push back the part 5 of the Dividend Investing Foundations video. If you guys enjoyed this video, do hit the like button, it does help, and do consider subscribing if you haven't yet. The journey of this YouTube channel, the journey of the dividend investing portfolio, it's not going to be stopping anytime soon. And I see a little bit momentum on both sides, and I'm excited. I've been having a lot of fun with this so far. As always, have a good upcoming week. We can do it. We'll make it through another 7 days. So take care, and I'll see you on next week's video. Peace.